All right, on to the last thing that we need to model in the project, and that is to correct the fact that we're floating on air. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rely on a modeling change, and what's left over after the modeling change is going to communicate an idea to the contractor that's not exactly what gets modeled. It'll make sense. Excuse me. It'll make sense when you see it in action. Kind of describing it in advance is a little tricky to pull off. In order to do this, I need to open up. I actually need to open one of my wall sections. I'm just going to double click. Doesn't matter which wall section. I'm going to select my ground floor level. I'm going to use my copy command, and I'm just going to copy him down 3 feet. And right now, you can see how it shows up in all the other views is because a level is a two-dimensional plane, and it's establishing a starting point for all kinds of other things to connect to. I'm going to rename this. This is no longer going to be called level 6. This is going to be B period O period space GR period space BM period. Bottom of grade beam. That's what that stands for. Now, what the grade beam is where they take the very edge of the concrete slab and they thicken it and they turn it down and run it in. It's basically a little tiny little wall, and it keeps the edge from breaking off. So, because if the edge of the slab breaks, then the wall is going to go with it, is what it boils down to. Okay, I'm done with that. I've created that little bit. I'm just going to double click outside the view so I can get out of that viewport. Now I need to go all the way back up to the top in my project browser, and I need to open my ground floor plan. All right, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to go to my architecture tab. I'll click on wall. I'm going to click edit type. And under type, I'm going to use this drop down and I'm going to change it to generic 12 inch. I will then click duplicate because I'm going to take the 12-inch wall type in Revit, the generic one, and I'm going to tweak it and modify it and create something new that will actually suit our purposes. So click duplicate. I'm going to call this one grade beam. I'm then edit my structure. The only thing I need to change is the material. So remember, there's that hidden button right there. So I'll click on that. And we'll bring up our material browser. And I want concrete cast in place, whoops, gray. There it is, right there. Concrete cast in place gray. That's the material. That's the only thing we change right here. Click OK. Click OK. Now here's where things get a little weird. We're not drawing from the ground floor. We're going to start from the bottom of the grade beam. We're going to go up to the ground floor, but the top offset is -4 inches. So the wall is going to start at that new 3 feet below the ground floor line, but it's going to stop 4 inches before it reaches the top, before it actually reaches, which is the underside of the slab. And then we'll change our location line from the wall center line to the finished face exterior. I'm going to start at this corner, and because we're drawing underneath the current view, we're going to get a lot of error messages. Ignore them and keep going. Just work your way around the entire perimeter of the floor plan. There we go. And yes, the error messages are annoying. And if you will remember, during class, you'll just, I mean, it sounded like your fairy godmother was just, beating up everybody with the magic wand. There we go. I need to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing here. There it is. Pull back out. There we go. Cross it there. Wrong way. In case you were wondering, when I'm making these videos, I'm doing this on a Mac, but I'm controlling a PC. And if you know anything about the difference, the scroll direction on your mouse wheel is different between the two. So I get used to zooming in and out on the PC, but now I'm doing it on a Mac, and the scroll wheel zooms backwards. So that's why half the time I'm zooming in when I ought to be zooming out. Okay, I've run all the way around there. I'm done with that. I'll click Modify. As strange as it sounds, to double check to make sure you did something more or less sort of kind of close to what we're supposed to do, open your 3D view. I'm going to make that go away, and I'm gonna hold my Shift key down and click with my middle wheel on my mouse in order to 3D orbit this object around. So we've just created this shape around the perimeter of our building, or perimeter of our house. So that is that's the grade beam. That's the perimeter of the slab. There's actually going to be pieces of it that go through the entirety of the slab to help hold it up in certain key strategic points. I'm not worried about that right now. Okay, we're done with that. I'm going to close this view because I don't need it open. I'm going to scroll down. There are a few little things we need to fix, and we need to do this in our building sections. So I'm going to start with my lateral section. That's the short one that should go through the staircase. If I zoom in, so you'll notice that here's that grade beam we just drew, and then there's our slab. So I'm going to, on my Modify tab, come over here and I'll click Join Geometry. It doesn't matter which one you do first. It doesn't matter if you click on the floor slab and then the grade beam, or if you click on the grade beam and then the floor slab, but you have to select each one of them, and when they highlight, it works. There we go. So that little line in between everything goes away. So I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to come over here. There's one. There's the other. Okay. Now I'm going to look at my longitudinal section. Zoom in. I'll need to do it here as well. Modify tab. Join Geometry. Slab and then grade beam, or grade beam and slab. It doesn't matter. There we go. Now what that did not fix, or what that did not actually change, was, I'll click my Modify tool so I can show this. This line, which indicates the ground line, you can see that that really didn't change. But what we can imply with this little gap in between the bottom of the slab and the top of the grade is we can imply a 2-inch sand cushion, which they actually do in construction. So this is one of those things where we're not actually modeling a 2-inch sand cushion, but we can point to that gap and we can say, hey, guys, that's a 2-inch sand cushion. So again, there's some additional context that people in the industry who are in the construction industry are aware of. We're banking on that context even though we're not actually drawing the sand. Okay, so those are our two building sections. Let's double check and make sure that the grade beam and the slab are connected in all of our wall sections. Now when we get to our brick wall, you'll notice that they're not connected. So on my Modify tab, Join Geometry. Come on. There it goes. Now we go to the metal wall panel. Now, when I zoom in, you'll notice that they're already connected. That's because the building section that's going through this metal wall panel only happens a few feet away. So we selected that same section of the grade beam when we did Join Geometry, and it's reflected here. We look at our section through the stairs and we zoom in and we notice it's already joined because that was the other side of the lateral section. We still selected and previously joined these two pieces of geometry in the model. So we're done with that. Zoom out. We are now officially done with all the modeling that we need to do for the entire project. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is create PDFs using Adobe Acrobat, but that's the next video, so sit tight.